They claim they want beef like I ain't in a teed up. I turn them to vegan. I'm really a creature. She sent me to beacon.
Hey guys, Asher Ray Chat Legends. Welcome to the video. Sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them out there today. Guys, I had it in my head that today I'm going to make it. I'm going to make the ultimate Fire Knight guide. Fire Knight guide to kill Fire Knight in any difficulty setting, as well as Fire Knight is a big part of Curse City, right? And Curse City rewards, they're awesome for two reasons. They got buffed, A, and B, they're all free. You don't have to spend energy, just time, right? So this Fire Knight is very, very challenging in Soul Cross, but we do have to encounter Fire Knight in a number of different areas. We have to beat Fire Knight hard, 10 just to get our hands on Marius the Gallant, which everybody is going to want on their account. Listen, there's some polarization on if Fire Knight gear really sucks or just kind of sucks, right? Or is all right. I am in the camp that Fire Knight gear is all right. Would you believe a lot of endgame players continuously still farm Fire Knight when there's not other tournaments going on just to get better Savage gear primarily, right? So Savage gear is still very good. Obviously, we have Lethal, we have Merciless. There has been some power creep onto almost all gear in the game, but Savage is still fantastic, especially when you have an additional chance to get Savage gear when they have those rotating events. We also have Stun gear, which is imperative for clearing content both in Faction Wars and in Soul Cross. Doom Tower as well. Regeneration that can help you solo content. Frenzy is kind of crap. Crit damage is okay to supplement on your damage dealers. Shield is good for Wixwell squads or if you don't have access to bolster gear. Immunity is not very good anymore. Curing is all right, and Fury is all right as well. So there are some standout sets that does make sense to farm. Moreover, again, Marius, right? We want to work on our Fire Knight hard team especially. Let's go over the fundamentals of Fire Knight, right? Let me just throw on in the background here. I'll unveil my Fire Knight team in a moment here, but let's just throw on. I'm sure I'm going to either fail or just endlessly farm in the background, but I want to put something on. So I'm going to throw on Fire Knight from Soul Cross that we just mentioned, right? My MVP here, by the way, is Bloodbraid because she has a triple hitter as well as 100% heal reduction. But without manualing this, we're just going to be kind of stuck in limbo, I believe. I should probably put Garrel in her alternate mode, though, at least give us a fighting chance here in the background. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to start by talking about the most fundamental buffs and debuffs for Fire Knight Normal and Fire Knight Hard, and then we're going to get into a bunch of champion examples. We're going to get into a bunch of strategies. I'm going to show you a couple teams as well, and we're going to have you guys feeling really confident about Fire Knight by the time that you end this video. So let's talk about the most important blessings, buffs, and debuffs, right? Increased speed. Listen, we talk a lot about decreased speed here on the channel. It's one of my favorite debuffs. I never leave home without it. But the same thing in inverse, but it's really important, increased speed, right? So increased speed and decreased speed, the combination of those two, buff and debuff, almost anywhere that is applicable inside the game is going to be a huge difference maker, right? There's a few ways to beat the Fire Knight. But any way we beat him, we want him to be as slow as humanly possible. Now, we have to chip this shield, obviously, all the way down before we have the opportunity not just to do damage, but also to land our debuffs. So getting that shield down with multi-hitters, in ally attack, in counter attack, any tool at our disposal is going to be imperative. More on that in a moment. I'm going to give you all my best champion recommendations as well. So now we have the shield down. Now we can land our heal reduction, for example, in all of our other debuffs and do damage to the Fire Knight. Block debuffs is fantastic. We can avoid all the nasty debuffs the Fire Knight is going to throw our way. Turn meter increase, of course, is fantastic as well for the same reason the increased speed is. We want more turns. We want less turns for the Fire Knight, right? Miracle heal. Fire Knight actually depletes your max HP, which really hurts, and especially if you have a team built to sustain a little bit against the Fire Knight, you're going to have to do something about all that depleted max HP, right? You're going to be super squishy, and you're going to die in one shot eventually if you let it stack up too much. That's why getting Miracle Heal or just having an OP champion like a Marichka who has a built-in restore max HP mechanic in her kit. Hey, this team, by the way, we might beat it on full auto. I don't know, a little RNG here, but we might beat it. Who knows? It's probably going to heal up, and it's all going to be moot in a second. Ward of the Fallen and Phantom Touch are both blessings, and they both count as hits on the Fire Knight shield, right? An additional hit. So definitely worth getting. Personally, I tried to put my entire team, my main team, in Phantom Touch Blessing. So in order to do this is an end game goal for you guys. But you guys are in the end game. What you can try to do is maybe sacrifice a few seconds on your Fire Knight run in exchange for using champions that you don't typically use in other areas of the game, or champions that you use in other areas of the game, but it's not super important if they're in Phantom Touch, right? They're not on your main, whatever, Chimera team or your main arena team where that would be a hindrance having that rare blessing on them. So I tried to build a team that is specifically catered towards Fire Knight, not to change the blessings over and over again, because those cost 300 gems to change your blessings, and you definitely don't want to be doing that. So Phantom Touch is fantastic. Word of the Fallen also works. Talk about debuffs. Decreased speed, we already talked about it. Super freaking important. Heal reduction can stop him from healing. Absolutely imperative, fantastic on most teams. If you're killing the Fire Knight fast enough, or if you're taking that shield down and then using a champion like Allure or double newts in hard mode to keep that shield down, heal reduction becomes moot. In most teams, it's very important. Decreased defense and weaken, and see, he just healed up. See how much that set us back there on this team in the background? Decreased defense and weaken are going to allow us to kill him faster. Really important. Or at least one of the two I would recommend trying to have on your team. And then freeze for Fire Knight Hard, of course. Freeze acts as a turn meter depletion on Fire Knight Hard. You can't use your Allure strategies or decreased turn meter strategies. He's immune to it on Tainted, the hard mode. Speaking of Tainted, the hard mode, this is thanks to ayumilove.net, which is a fantastic website. Here are the stats for hard mode. You might want to go ahead and screenshot this. Most importantly, you're going to see his resistance. It's going to tell you the amount of accuracy that you need. You're also going to see the amount of speed that they have. So Tainted Fyro at stage 10 hard is going to have 250 speed. Also link this for you guys. These are the stats on Fire Knight normal. Again, screenshot this because it's really important to know in terms of speed tuning. It's going to be speed 100 on normal every stage, so that's not a huge issue, but also how much accuracy that you're going to go ahead and need against those Fyros. Let's go ahead and talk about team setup. You know what? We're gonna win this battle, but we're gonna be here 10 videos length, right? Maybe an hour. Let's see how long it took me to clear it when I was on manual. The worst in the clan there. Super Bonbon, 78 turns. You say, what is the best in the world? I wonder on this thing. Over under. I was gonna say over under 30. Yeah, 12. No big deal. All right, so you can see they had Angar. They had some counterattack on that team as well. All right, guys, so you can see my team underneath my fat head. But this is my main team, with the exception is I normally run a double newt here. But honestly, Crowd in the Blue in this spot is still very effective. It's still 100% win rate on the run, and it's only a few seconds shorter than a double newt team. So before we get into champions and strategies and combos and stuff like that, let's talk about the importance of team setup, team presets. Really important in the Fire Knight's dungeon. And it's not rocket science. We just want to make sure that the champions that we need to be using their best skills against the Fire Knight aren't going to be wasting those skills against the waves, right? The waves on Fire Knight are generally on the easier side. I know that's different for every account, but they're not that difficult. You can control them if you need to, or you can just flat out kill them. For example, we don't even have Newt using his Blessed Bash ability, right? We want nice and fresh for the Fire Knight himself. However, we are going to open with his A1 because we're not going to have that shield. With this team, we're not going to be able to take it down before the Fire Knight gets one turn, but that's all he's going to get with this team, right? Some teams out there, the fastest teams in the world, by the way, they just go in and they take the shield down right away. He never gets a turn. So it's not the fastest team. This is about a 2-minute or so team here. Use your team setup, right? It doesn't have to just be Newt. For example, Cardio, right? You want to make sure he's not using what you want him to use against the Fire Knight. And then you want to go in there and, okay, I'm going to open with Angel Song, which is not his ally attack. I'm going to wait for the Fire Knight to take a turn. Then I'm going to go in with the ally attack. So think about your team. Every team's going to be different, but just make sure that you're turning off the abilities that you really want to use as an opener, rather, against the Fire Knight here. Now, on this one, I'm wondering why I have Sealed Fate turned off on the waves. I don't think I actually need to do that. So let's go ahead and at least run it on this wave. Team setup, super important, right? Because Fire Knight can be tricky, right? We want to use the skills. Moreover, we want to have a really strong opening or things can absolutely just go crazy, right? Okay, so let's talk about Fire Knight normal MVPs, right? So of course, there's the lovely Allure. You could really run a double Allure team. It's kind of like Dark Fae type strategy, right? Where this Psychic Whip ability is a triple hitter, decreases target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. All you have to do is make sure you're building with a 100% crit rate. You take that shield down one time, you turn off in the team setup. You turn off her A2 and her A3, and you just hammer away with that A1. Even better if you have an ally attacker, so she'll join in and do more turn meter manipulation. With 1 or even 2 allures on your team, you can easily beat Fire Knight normal. And if you don't have Allure, hopefully you'll get her, but you can still employ ally attackers. Ally attack and counterattack are absolute best friend. We have some other tricks up our sleeve as well, but ally attack to me is the #1 strategy. Having 2 ally attackers on your team, heck, even 3 can work just depending on the champions and the comp. Turn meter manipulation on normal mode is everything, okay? So allure or double allure. Beyond ally attack, we can use counterattack, right? There's only around 4 or 5 champions in the game with an AoE counterattack, but it can still be effective. Obviously, it still counts as extra chips away at that shield. Reflect damage also counts as chips on the shield after the Fire Knight hits you when you have the reflect damage buff on. So you can use reflect damage if you have to as well. There's not a ton of champions that have reflect damage, but there are quite a few. I think one of the more well-known ones is Fellhound. A reflect damage on all allies for 2 turns on a 2-turn cooldown, so you can keep that up with 100% uptime, or at least close to. That's reflect damage. Counterattack, ally attack. That's how you chip away at the shield. Phantom Touch, Ward of the Fallen. We already talked about that. Cold Heart. Well, if Allure is the epic cheat code, then certainly Cold Heart was made for Fire Knight, and made for Spider, and made for half the areas of the damn game, right? But look at this. A quad hitter. Listen. We want a triple hitter. Worst case scenario is a double hitter on the A1. Ideally, we have triple hitters on the A1 for Fire Knight. That's why champions like, obviously, Apothecary with 4 hits, or excuse me, Cold Heart with 4 hits, but even Apothecary with a triple hit on his A1 are very, very good. Apothecary for Fire Knight has a triple hitter on his A1, and he has increased speed, and he has turn meter fill. We talked about that. Those are 3 of the core things that we want against Fire Knight, right? So Apothecary is exceptionally good. Now, Apothecary can still be used, as can Cold Heart, against Fire Knight hard, right? Just because they don't have freeze doesn't mean they're worthless. They're still good at getting that shield down. And hey, even though enemy max HP is capped at 10%, Cold Heart can still put in work. So she's still a good option. She's just or a little bit less effective because we're really looking for those freezes as well to help control that turn meter, because the turn meter reduction of her A3 Heartseeker isn't going to work. The damage will work though. Heartseeker in normal mode though, I mean, we're decreasing turn meter by 100%. And she's bringing a quad hitter, and she's bringing heal reduction. Against the Fire Knight, we can shut off the A2. We can use that against the waves. We don't have to use that against the Fire Knight with Cold Heart, okay? So Cold Heart is another little cheat code there. Another thing that I like on my Fire Knight teams in general is a champion that has a decreased speed on the A1 ability. So I list off a few here that come at the top of my head, but they're giving away, would you believe they're giving away Tawana Rock to new accounts? She has a decreased speed on her A1. Of course, we have the lovely Syl of the Drake. Syl, how you doing, baby? Where are you? Right in front of my face? Come on. Am I this blind? What the heck? Dude. One thing up. I'm such an idiot. There she is. Syl of the Drakes has a decreased speed on her A1 ability, right? Stag Knight is another unbelievable example of that. So what we're trying to do here on these champions is we're trying to fill a role that we already need on our team. Like Stag Knight has the decreased defense. He also brings decreased attack, but we also can pick up a decreased speed from that A1 ability, right? So same thing with Syl of the Drakes. Same thing with a Mausoleum Mage, for example. Now, the only thing with Mausoleum Mage is he does have only a single hit on his A1. I am so blind today. There we go. He only has a single hit, but he does have that decreased speed. He also has increased defense, block debuffs, and a cleanse, and a heal, right? So I'm just saying this is like, I always look for a decreased speed on an A1 on either Fire Knight, normal or hard, on any champion, especially if you have ally attackers. That will help ensure that decreased speed stays on the Fire Knight, even if they don't happen to take a turn at the right time. That's why A1 decreased speed combined with ally attackers is going to be one of your best friends, especially when we talk about Fire Knight hard when it comes to freeze control. For Fire Knight hard, who are some of our MVPs? Well, Cryo in the blue, I think he's the best epic in the game for Fire Knight Hard. He has a triple hitter with freeze on his A1. Again, freeze acts as turn meter depletion. It's the only thing that works. The boss won't get frozen, but he will have his turn meter decreased. He has a freeze on the A2 as well. And then he has turn meter fill and increased speed on his A3 ability. He has a solid passive as well. Really, really good. He'll help you out in the waves, but he'll be an absolute MVP all-star when it comes to the Fire Knight and controlling him once that shield is down. Again, he goes really, really well with ally attackers. Newt is probably the best Fire Knight champion, right? Certainly can make that strong argument in the entire game. Newt has freeze, or if he can't have his turn meter decreased, he will go ahead and decrease the turn meter. So against normal, he's fantastic. Against hard, he's brilliant. Triple hitter with the freeze. Ooh, that's good. And then he has one of the best single target enemy max HP abilities in the game with Blessed Bash. He can really be your big punch on the Fire Knight in both difficulties, but he is certainly an MVP. Even running 2 of him or 3 of him in Fire Knight Hard is going to be insane if you can pull it off. Another epic is Neldor, right? I'm not naming all the champions in the entire game who are good, but these are some of my personal favorites who I think are the best of the best. He has a triple hitter on his A1 with the freeze. Again, he brings a decreased attack, a decreased accuracy, but more importantly, a quad hitter on his A2. And then he has the decreased speed on his A3. Again, everything that we want for the Fire Knight in Neldor Rhineblade. He's an epic high elf, right? Ally attackers and counterattack. Again, that's what we want, and we want a lot of it, okay? And then we talked about it. Supports who can restore max HP, keep your team alive, keep your team healed up, right? Ally attackers. Well, hell, there's a lot of them in the game nowadays, aren't there, guys? These are my favorites. Mikage, Oscarin is insane. Queen of Hearts, Lanicus the Chosen, Lana Theral. I love Lana Theral. Longbeard, Grand Oak, Cardial, Morag, Admiral Blacktusk, Farrakhan the Fat, Diana Gloompiercer, Oscarin we already talked about, and Lady Mikage, right? Those are all fantastic. Then we have, of course, Skullcrusher, Valkyrie, we have Alaz, and we have the new guy, right? Klazig, with the counterattack on your entire team. So those are some options as well for counterattack, which are very effective. Those champions tend to be a bit harder to get, though. And honestly, I prefer ally attack, personally, when given the choice. Not to say that you can't get by with counterattack as well, or a combination of the two. I do want to quickly go over the epic ally attackers who I mentioned, because I am in love with all of these champions. Fat Man, first and foremost, right? All allies except this champion are going to go ahead and attack the enemy. We're looking for all allies. The more the merrier, right? So Longbeard, for example, has 4 allies and him, which is ostensibly everybody. So we're looking for, you know, like Akrila Witcharm, for example, is really solid, really good. We were running her earlier in Soulcross and Curse City, but only 3 allies are joining in. Given our druthers, we'd love to have all allies or 4 allies joining in. That being said, so Farrakhan the Fat to me is the premier choice for epic ally attackers. Definitely worth investing in if you haven't already. As a matter of fact, he has poisons and burns in his kit on his A2, which are so good in so many different areas of the game. I didn't mention him, but I will give a quick shout out to Catacomb Counselor. He's not as good as the other champions that we're going to be mentioning. He does only have a single target hitter on his A1, but he has a triple hitter on his A2. And then he has an ally attack with 3 random allies. So if you're hurting for options, Catacomb Counselor is a viable epic option for an ally attacker. And then we have a few more of my favorites who don't have a large number of allies joining in the ally attack, but they bring a lot that those other champions might not bring as well. Morag Bronzelock teams up with 2 random allies to attack a single enemy. She also brings the big version of Strengthen, and she is also counterattacking when hit while under a Strengthen placed by this champion. So you get that bonus in there as well. Dirty Diana Gloompiercer is very good. She deals a lot of damage. She brings her decreased defense, and she'll have Ignore defense when attacking an enemy under decreased defense. What I love about her, though, is a 2 random ally, but it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Morag far because it's on a 4-turn cooldown. So I love that cooldown being nice and low as well. Now, for ally attackers, you can also consider building them in either relentless sets to take an extra turn to help reduce those cooldowns, or in reflex and impulse sets, or merciless sets, just to decrease the cooldown of the ally attack. The only problem you might run into there is consistency, right? We really don't want to throw away energy. I would advise you guys, err on the side of taking 10 or 20 or 30 or even a minute longer if you can get a consistent run, versus trying to get a 75% win rate and throwing all that energy, especially over the time, right, down the drain. Let me go ahead and show you my main Fire Knight team. Kind of main Fire Knight team, right? This is with Crowd in the blue instead of 2 Newts. Like I said, it's a little bit slower than my typical team. And then after this, I want to show you an all epic team. There's a lot of all epic teams out there, and they all revolve around Fat Man and Dirty Diana, the ally attackers that we just spoke about, right? Let me get myself a little bit small. I'm hogging the whole damn screen, this entire guide. I apologize, guys. I'm just so hungry for the camera, for the attention, the spotlight on yours truly, my big Fire Knight guide and Raid Shadow Legends. Rio Bonespear on the waves, by the way. I think she's the biggest nuisance. So if you want to target somebody on that second wave, primarily I would start with Rio Bonespear. She's got that big heal and the cleanse as well. So you can see my team slowing down a little bit here on this second wave, and it's certainly costing me a lot of time overall. We get to the Fire Knight here, and you guys are going to see what's going to happen. Now, like I said, some teams, I used to kind of run a team like this, right? But I've taken a break from using all my most OP champions, right? So it's running me a little bit shorter amount of time, but now we're going to go in with our ally attacks, right? We didn't use them right away. We opened with a different skill. And then we have Foley. Foley has all these multi-attacks. He's a brilliant champion, perfect for Fire Knight. We land that decreased defense with the A1 of Foley. He brings the decreased defense as well. I think Foley is an underrated champion. Those big blessed bashes from my man Newt, really insane there. And look at that turn meter, guys. I mean, that is all on Cryode in the blue in Newt. And look at it right now. Boom. It goes down just in the nick of time. Beautiful. Now we're going to have another ally attack before that turn meter gets full from... Oh, no, we're not. We're still going to get it done. Sorry. Like I said, I'd usually run another Newt in the team, but I figured I'd get cute and add an epic in there and Crowd in the blue. Now, that just told me something, though, to be real. I'm not going to cut this out because it's important. This team would not be 100% run with that little faux pas that we saw, that one extra turn. We're not built to be taking a bunch of extra hits, so you do have to be careful of things like that. Either way, we still get the run done here with Cryoden in about 2 minutes. So not too bad, but we can go in there, and what you guys should do as well is go in there and make some adjustments, right? There's so many different things that we can do. We can speed up our champions a little bit, right? Especially Cryoden. We could even turn off that A3 of Cryoden. Now, obviously, I just told you guys, what are we looking for, right? We're looking for increased speed and increased turn meter. We could open with Blessing of the Blue, and then we could turn it off. Because did you see where that run started to go a little bit of awry, where the Fire Knight got that extra turn? He wasn't supposed to get that extra turn. We were supposed to go in with Cryoden and land at least one freeze. That way we could tick his turn meter enough to get our ally attack in. That didn't happen because instead he went with Blessing of the Blue. So it's a teaching moment for you guys right now is, sure, we do want the increased speed. We do want the turn meter fill, but we can probably just open with this and then not use it after that, right? So again, team setup is everything when we talk about Fire Knight. Let's go ahead and take a look at an all epic team. All right, guys, so this is my all epic team, and sorry for me in the background there, but I actually showed this particular team that can beat every hard dungeon. That's Ice Golem, Dragon, Spider, and Fire Knight with these same champions, right? So this is Tagore. This is in the middle, right? We have Yuzin there for support on the far right. We have Diana, the ally attacker that we talked about. We have Neldor Rhineblade on the, not the far left, but next to Dark Kale on the far left. Dark Kale has a triple hitter. He's bringing some poisons. He's bringing activation of those poisons. Look at all that damage that he's doing. And then we have the ally attackers going in. And again, we're utilizing Phantom Touch on this team as a blessing to get those extra hits. It's weird to have me hovering over me right right now. I'm not going to lie. But this team is not bad at all, right? Like, we're getting work done pretty quickly, and we're utilizing Neldo. We're not even utilizing Cryodin, who I think is the real MVP here. Dark Kale, though, I probably should have mentioned, right? Dark Kale is absolutely fantastic as well. So let's end with a final note here, guys. I do want to mention one relic that I think is absolutely brilliant for Fire Knight as well, and that is the Perched Shadow. Where it has a 10, we can get it up to 14 pretty easy. A 14% chance to receive an extra turn when using their default skill if at least one active skill is on cooldown, right? This kind of plays into the Relentless strategy, the Reflex strategy. It's all about getting hits on that Bloody Shield, right? Or getting extra turns. So just be careful. If you have a team that's ultra speed tuned, sure, these extra turns can throw things off. You can get extra turn when you don't want an extra turn. But for most teams, we just want as many chances as possible to chip away at the shield and then land our debuffs, control the Fire Knight with decreased speed, decreased defense, and keep our team alive in the interim and just keep chipping away and reducing that turn meter once we have that shield down. So guys, there it is. Those are some of my favorite champions for Fire Knight, my favorite strategies for Fire Knight. Hopefully this gives you the confidence and the motivation to take down the Fire Knight on your own account. With that being said, we've concluded the guide. Thank you for watching till the end. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.